This episode of Trials and Trebuchets is brought to you by Fanroll Dice. If you're in the market for some new, top-notch dice, and who am I kidding, folks? We're all always on the prowl for some shiny rocks, then look no further than fanrolldice.com. Whether it's their bewitching liquid cores, a pack of trusty misfit medals, or even a set of oh-so-endearing miniature dice, you'll find anything you're looking for and more at fanrolldice.com. And don't forget to use our code TRIALS10 at checkout for 10% off your order of new little crit machines. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 232 of Trials and Trebuchets. I'm your Dungeon Master, Luke, and joining me are my players at the start of a new arc. Could you please introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is New Arc, played by Ben, who also plays the level 12 gnome wizard Windsor Wallaby, along with his cunning little companion, Mr. Wiggles.
The rest of us are LaGuardia, JFK.
Amazing.
I'm from New Jersey. I'm Carla, and I play the level 12 Tiefling Roguelock Integrity Adelberry, who still looks the same the entire way because we just got from the beach, and now we're just back in school.
Girl.
Nothing crazy happened.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I really think you should just fly to PHL and take the train. I play Mira Marchand, the level 12 half-elf bard. Please get me blood, gallons of the stuff. Give me all that Winsler bleeds, and it will never be enough. So give me blood of the gnome who died and came back in the mud.
Amazing.
Hi, I'm Sam. I don't have any funny quotes or anything like that, but I do play the level... Oh my god, what level are we
12.
at? 12, thank you. Level 12 human sorcerer Serenep Cinderman, back at school.
Yes. And last time on Trials and Trebuchets, Serenep Cinderman said goodbye to Philip Maisel as the students returned to campus, and he sailed off into the gleam, set to begin a new life amidst the islands. At their return, Winsler and Integrity secured the means to hide Serenep from detection, magically wise, while Mira Marchand reported to the Lady of the Woods and became aware of Crowe's searching for the students after their departure from campus. We find ourselves now, in this moment, at this time of day, which is early, in the office of our aforementioned headmaster. It's a small building, a small office, atop the alchemy building. You've been led through, let into the door. You see a young man sitting across from this large desk opposite of you. Dark skin, very beautifully manicured beard, eyes looking inquisitively at you across or over steepled hands. The headmaster wears a very flowing robe of grays, whites, and blacks, and he is reclined deeply into his chair, almost sinking into it, looking at you all sitting here in this cramped office. Let's go through it. Could you all tell me, starting from left to right, whatever order you guys want to go in, who do we see, since it is the start of a new arc, sitting here across from him?
We see a short gnome wearing a nice gray plaid cap and the typical Wildcliff robes and sort of getup.
Deep blue, big crest patch, millions of small pockets hidden in the
So
folds.
many pockets.
So many pockets. Yes. Winsler Wallaby, the gnome wizard.
Studious, recently revived.
To the right of this recently revived gnome wizard is a orange tiefling greater than 5 foot tall, with half red, half black hair, that is ponytailed, trying to look profesh. She is wearing some tweed pants and an unknown top because it is covered by her blue robes. She's wearing the fanciest boots of all, and she's looking at Crowe like inquisitive, trying to stare him down, trying to make him crack.
Ooh.
Next to Integrity, we see Mira Marchand, half-elf, dark skin, hair is currently in a bunch of braids that are then tied up into a ponytail. She is also trying to stare Crowe down, but she's trying to be very studious about it, trying to pretend that she's doing a little bit of deduction. She is wearing a pastel green short dress with like these long trumpet sleeves and a square neckline. She's wearing some high top ankle boots that are like a pastel pink, complementing colors doing it. Right arm is a brassy prosthetic with 4 fingers, and Mira has those fingers steepled together, trying to look very composed.
And then at the end of the line there, we see a very tall human, wearing, like, the cloak is properly, like, wrapped around her, and so all you can really see is her, like, comfortable, like, walking shoes and, like, the bottom of some, like, long brown pants, shirts hidden underneath the cloak that she's kind of pulled together, and her hair, she's kind of let it down this time to kind of rest just over her head and just also staring him down, but kind of keeping a little bit back just to, in case she's got to run.
There's a long silence between the two groups. This stare down intense, fire in your eyes, Integrity, and Mira and Serenep and Winsler as you stare back at this guy, your headmaster, maybe only a few years older than you, by your estimations. He lowers his hands, places them folded together flat on the table, and will sit forwards in his large leather chair. You can hear like the squeaking, and he takes a deep breath in, looks composed, controlled. You can see the bags under his eyes, small cracks in the facade, but nothing more. Hands folded, he will look from left, slowly to right, lingering most of all upon you, Serenep's Cinderman, sitting there. And he will say aloud, "Well, it's a pleasure to have you for students returned to campus. I'm glad that you took heed of invitations to come and have this meeting on the quickest terms we could." He taps his fingers once or twice against the desk. Miss Cinderman, it is a great shock and pleasure to see you back in such good health.
Happy to be back.
A small smirk, faint, quick, parting. His eyes jolt to the left to you, Mir Marchand, and he will say, "Your interim mentor was quite concerned for the disappearance of all 4 of you. She came with some haste the moment she realized that the 4 of you, 3 of you, had departed without prior notice. If you do not mind my inquiring, as is the necessity of investigation in a time like this, Winsler Wallaby, Integrity Idleberry, and Mira Marchand, where, by chance, did you find yourselves off campus without any seeming permission to do so?"
And why would that matter? Was it also by your permission that all those guards ended up traveling on campus? Endangering the potential safety of others on campus?
He puts a finger to his temple and will lean in, Winsler, and say, "Jog my memory.
You spoke to Philip about it. We already know this.
You're speaking about the Ashwin soldiers who came aboard campus. He points a hand to you.
Whose higher-ups
Mira.
apparently outplayed you.
He points a hand to you, Mira, ignoring Winsler's statement, and will say, I did speak to the young Philip Maisel about this. Yes, upon his return to campus. I investigated the same things I am doing now as headmaster about why he was not with us for the beginning of spring semester. It's important at times like this to retain order across the campus. There are regulations and rules. You can't just leave the campus whenever you want with no rhyme or reason. There are certain protocols that exist for doing such things.
And are those
Well-
protocols in place to protect kidnapping?
He folds his hands again and will look to you, Winsler, his eyebrows raised slightly, taking on, he has a very plain, unshocked kind of expression. He'll say, well, I'm uncertain that it's come up in the past. Yes, I'm certain, or I'm sure that whoever made the rules about students staying on campus for the duration of the year might have had something like kidnapping in mind, but
I'm gonna insight check this.
I couldn't tell you for sure. By all means, Winsler, make an insight check.
Fuck me, I guess. I got a 10.
Yeah, 10. He didn't write the rules. He's just reading you the rights, you know? He's just doing what was passed down to him through headmasters past. But yes, I spoke to Mr. Maisel about his departure. I'm speaking to you three about your departures. So please.
And that can't be all that there is there? You didn't simply just invite us over here to have a conversation about us leaving again?
Well, it's quite important, Mr. Wallaby, to know where our students are.
Headmaster Crowe, I'm sure we can talk on the level. You already know what happened. You already know that people kidnapped our friend Serenep over here. I gesture with my head. It's very intuitive to figure out what happened. We rescued her. We're back now. I don't think you're actually going to punish us for that, because if you did, you would have already. So what do you want? Let's talk this out.
We don't really need any more acts here. We've kind of gotten enough of that already.
But okay. We can speak on level. You went to the island? The three of you chasing after her?
Yeah.
And what if we did?
Simultaneously, Winsler, you say, what if we did? And Vera goes, yeah. Nonchalant. He smiles to himself. He'll lean back now, taking his hands off the table and kind of like burying them amidst like the flowing robes. And he'll say, well, I'm glad to hear that. I am very glad to hear. You're not going to be punished for disappearing from campus. I would ask that you don't make a habit out of it again this year.
I'll try my
Digging your
best.
noses into trouble and pursuing it.
How are we supposed to do that when all the trouble comes finding us? When it directly involves us? Those soldiers came for Serenep. How are we to ignore that?
He laughs almost to himself, Winsler, when you mention the soldiers again. You guys can make insight checks on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
4 plus 4, 8.
Ooh.
17.
17.
16 plus 6, 22.
Dang, 22.
25.
Oh,
Jesus.
dang.
Mira. Oh my god, Mira. He's enjoying this, right? He's toying with you guys. Winsler, Serenep, I think the two of you would be able to very easily. They laugh, Winsler, when you mention the soldiers again. It's not like the laughter of someone like it's not like a placating, like, oh, ha ha ha, you're mentioning that again laughter. It's not like a annoyed laughter. It's maybe it's annoyed, but not because you're bringing it up again. He seems annoyed about the implication of why they were here, right? The way that you said it, like, oh, they came here to bring Serenep in, and he laughs and kind of like looks almost like he's about to roll his eyes, and then he'll shut his eyes and recompose himself, almost like a crack in the armor revealed, and he will. Those Ashwin soldiers accompanied a former member of the council so that the two of us might have a quick and easy conversation prior to a administration gathering.
But that's not what happened, was it? That may be what you wanted to interpret it as, but that's not really what happened there, was it? It was more of a forced threat.
He leans back, his eyes wide, he pulls the hands out and will place them on the table in front of him, an amused expression. He'll go, So what all happened then, my young friend? If you know so much about my meetings and what I do behind closed doors, by all means, regale me with the tale, and he'll kind of like turn to the rest of you. Tell me what happened when I met with Lord Peters, since you seem to know the details.
Perhaps they made you bend the knee.
Outmaneuvered, right?
Yeah.
Outmaneuvered.
Lost the game.
Mira, when you say outmaneuvered, he like looks at you with the like it's like the way an older sibling and you who like have like an in joke would like look at each other when someone says something, like when your family says something and you like look at each other very quickly,
Yeah.
like, oh my god, it's the thing. He looks over to you quickly, almost as if with that expression upon his face, and will turn back to you and say, yes, by all means, that sounds exactly like what happened. I didn't know word traveled that fast to those outside of the council.
The fact that we're having this conversation at all makes it pretty easy to figure out what happened.
Even you should understand that.
Well, maybe I assumed that Lady Cinderman was taken into the custody of the Ashwin Kingdom, and the three of you pursued, as you always pursue, any danger that crosses your path. As you say, it comes to you. What are you supposed to do? No inkling in that case of me being outmaneuvered, me being forced to bend the knee to the crown. That comes through a different channel. And he points to you, Mira, and says, I assume, yes?
Assume whatever you like.
Very well. That the Lady of the Woods is whispering in your ear things that she's heard through the information networks.
Sure, if that's what you want to believe.
This is very simple then. 4 of you went to the island. Wonderful, wonderful work. Miss Cinderman, on an unfortunate note, just due to the circumstances, we're going to be having to, if you wish to remain a student here, of course. And he puts a hand on the table towards you in you would call it a reassuring move, which if you were to remain a student here, which of course you have the full ability to, supposing you could still pay your tuition and services fees, we'll be having to move you to a smaller dorm room just to keep the space clean.
I would hope that I would be able to retrieve the things that have been locked in my room.
Yes, but of course. They've been put into storage already. Similar to when you had all disappeared during your internship. You recall that, yes?
It's tragedy that it always seems to happen against our own wishes.
Tragedy's not the word I would use, but nonetheless. So your absence is explained, and as headmaster, I can easily excuse it. And he smiles, eyes crinkling. He looks quite happy. And you might intuit Winsler and Serenap from that earlier insight rule. It seems to be or integrity as well from the earlier insight rule. It seems to be a very genuine happiness. And he leans back in his chair more. He'll say, you've all come with such a animosity this morning that I was expecting it. But I was hoping that it wouldn't be here. I was hoping that we could have just a civil conversation without making jabs at one another.
We've had more than enough civil conversation.
It's not as if you tried to have a civil conversation with us before going to my editors and trying to control what we wrote about.
Miss Marchand, you were off campus. I tried to arrange a meeting with you and Miss Sunfire. I was informed that you were off campus, so I just put out a simple statement. Just control what's printed until the editor-in-chief herself comes back.
That doesn't make you look good, you know. It makes you look desperate.
He leans forwards. What do you think I'm desperate for?
Evidently, to control the way you're perceived, or else you wouldn't be trying to put limitations on what we write.
Control, power, agency. Some of the things that maybe the Ashwin Kingdom might take away from you.
You don't think that certain checks and balances should be placed on student organizations to make sure that the people running them who have certain pedigree for running into mystery and danger on campus don't start printing things that would prompt others to fall down the same pitfalls as them?
I'm not going to justify my operation to you, Headmaster Crowe. I'm just saying that from an outside perspective, it looks worse for you, optics-wise, to try to control what we write than it does not to. It's kind of damning. I just wanted you to consider that.
Of course. I can live with a bit of damning reputation, Miss Marchand. I'm sure you understand that.
That's not what the kind of editorial control you want suggests, but of course.
Of course. We can have that conversation now if you would like.
By all means.
As my position would dictate, my ask is that you refrain from printing material that would incite dangerous action on the behalf of the student population. That is my primary concern.
What's dangerous action?
The four of you in the past year and a half of being students here have become entangled in numerous situations and mishaps, the most recent of which, prior to, of course, your quick vacation with Miss Cinderman, was very public. Following the death of 2 students, he gestures over to you, Winsler. There's just a worry on the administration's part that you would be able to, or that you would be compelled to tell people of deeper dangers that exist here.
These dangers have always been here. The only reason that they're so commonplace now is because we've decided to just do something about it.
Well, of course. They've always been here since the very beginning. I think we all know that easily enough. And the reason they've stayed and stayed under control is because anyone who learns about them stays quiet about them.
That's not how you really keep things like that under control. One way or another, this school would have gone under.
What would you suggest we do, Mr. Wallaby, then? I know you're not a part of this Warbler newspaper organization, but you seem to have quite a few opinions on how we should govern something like this.
Actions speak louder than words, and I think me and my friends have done plenty enough to prove what we think should need doing around here. We've seen enough inaction from the people up in the higher-ups who only pretend they want to help and make things better. They don't really care. The students are really the ones in danger, and the students are taking the brunt of everything. So therefore, the students, us, have a responsibility to keep our fellow people safe. That's what we've been trying to do this whole time, and we will continue to keep doing that.
Do you know? Do you know that they're sentient?
What are sentient?
Mira Marchand, what by chance are you talking about?
The golems, do you know?
What do you mean they're sentient?
They're sentient. They aren't things. They can think
Yes,
and...
the old custodians of the campus, everyone knows that they had personalities, discreet.
But yours? Do you know?
The new golems have...
which Mr. Orlane oversaw the production of and gave us the means to produce. Is that the newer ones on campus? That's who you're speaking of, Mira?
But they shouldn't have that, though. That was a key difference in everything that we were working on.
You're exploiting them. You know that, right?
He points.
Is this true?
He points to Winsler, Mira, and will say, "It's what your friend just said. That is not, by theory and practice, that seems impossible."
May I insight check this statement?
You can insight check it by all means.
Insight check.
That is a 14. That is a 10 plus 4.
Let's
Okay.
see, what is this? 18.
Mira, Winsler, it's as Winsler says. And Crowe is matter-of-factly telling you that. It seems, whether or not you want to believe that he has an ulterior motive here, that's up to you. But what he is saying to you seems patently true. He gives no tells that there is like a plot here. He points to Winsler and says, "It is as your friend has said. There's no indication from the materials we've been provided, from the construction and fabrication of these golems, that would be the case. Anything that you might have perceived of as individual cognition or personality is no more than an anomaly in the production."
You should look harder.
If I find out that you're lying, and all those golems out there are being exploited,
what will you do? Sounds like you're trying to threaten me.
If you really don't know, then there's no threat.
This is... I agree, Miss Marchand. It's just worrying to have students walk into my office and begin sentences with such violence behind the words.
I mean, you did invite us here to have a conversation today.
That's true. I didn't invite you here to threaten me, nor am I here to threaten any of you with violence.
And what's more than a threat than just empty words? There's no action being taken here.
Okay. We've addressed the Warbler actions. We've addressed your leave of absence, now excused. Is there anything else? Oh, further Warbler information. Or further Warbler talking points, I should say. Miss Marchand, it is under my understanding that a member of your organization has been lurking about areas where she is putting herself in danger around the reconstruction of the divination tower, in alignment with our ask that you do not incite students to acts of self-endangerment. It would be wise to instruct the same to your staff or the members of the organization.
I don't want to put any of them in danger. I'll speak to her.
Thank you very much. There's still, as you might be able to understand, very dangerous things down there. If we're speaking on the level still, there's still pieces of the research that our wonderful founder had been working on up until the time of her demise, still under that tower. I have both members of the faculty and members of my own staff working to disentangle the dangerous from the useful and reconstruct the tower so that it might once again act as a useful building on our campus. Until that time, please keep out.
Is that all?
And he starts to open his mouth, and at this moment a knock comes from the door behind you all. Sudden, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, very quick. The door, he pauses, and he will say, "Enter." The door opens very quickly. You see a thin human, dark circles under his eyes, horse wrangler. He rushes over to the desk, whispers the quick, brief words of, "Mr. Crowe, this just came in. It's very. I hate to interrupt your meeting, but it's. I think based on and then just you see him tapped a couple times on an envelope in his hands. There's a seal there, made of or a wax seal there that I don't think the three of you would recognize. And he hurriedly hands that to Crowe and will stand back into the corner. He looks at the four of you, these nervous eyes, as Crowe kind of like leans back and cracks the seal on this envelope, and pulls out the paper, reads like the first line it seems, and like shoves it back into the envelope. He sets it on the table and covers it with his hand, and he'll say, "Students, you'll have to excuse me. This was a wonderful conversation. I'm sure before the end of the year we'll have another one of these. But until that time, you have my thanks for your cooperation in all the matters discussed. Have a good day."
I'm gonna inch towards the door.
Okay, by all means, you can inch towards the door.
Just gonna nod and stand up and go with Winsler.
Stand up, you can stand and begin to go with Winsler, and you hear Crowe say once more as you turn your back, and he'll say, "Miss Cinderman, it would be best to avoid upsetting that many people on campus. You're in a very precarious spot once again, in case you hadn't realized."
Oh, I thought it was an absolute delight before. I'll do my best.
And you can stand and leave. Integrity and Mira, you can also leave if you would so desire.
Yes.
Okay, by all means. Integrity.
I look forward to meeting with you again in the future, hopefully not soon. And as I stand up, I would like to trip on the chair and have my face plant near the letter. And I would like to read as much as I can.
God.
Oh, hell yeah.
If
Can you
possible.
make this feels like a performance check.
You have to make this authentic.
Could you make a deception check for me?
Deception.
I want to give... feels performative. Feels performative. You're trying to deceive.
Maybe a
You're trying
little
to
bit.
read.
Well, you know what? It doesn't
split.
matter because
it's the same?
both are +2s.
Okay, in that case, give me a performance check.
Unless you say it's perception, keen
Nope.
eyes.
Nope. Give me a please and thank you. Give me a performance check for this incredible circus act, Integrity.
How does a 13? Oh, wait. Wait, I feel lucky because I'm so stressed. I want to know what
Lucky.
this letter is.
By all
Lucky.
means.
Using a different die. Hope for a better number. That is a 17.
Ooh.
17, you say.
Yes.
Integrity, you trip on the chair, you throw your hands up in the air, and you just thunk, crack your head against this desk.
Oh.
You then, with your two eyes, like you, in a manner that your face like pushes against the desk, your cheek slides. It's like this weird squeaky groaning sound, almost like you're falling back off of the desk as you perform this act of brave spycraft. The letter gets pulled ever so slightly out of its envelope, and you can peek at the probably first section. You can see that's quite long, written in a beautiful cursive script, and it says, "Crow, I hope this letter finds you well. I write to you from Easthold with haste. We are in dire need of your support in the weeks and seasons to come." And Integrity, with that, you can read like that first little introductory thing, and then you can, Crow will quickly pull it from you and stand. You hear kind of horse wrangling in the corner go, he like flinches forwards and goes, "Oh my goodness, are you okay? That looked like a terrible fall."
Integrity, are you okay? Peeking through the door again.
Yeah, you guys turn around.
I
your
heard a
friend-
thud.
These chairs are a freaking hazard. Like,
All right,
have
let's-
you seen like the floor? Like it's just, it doesn't work. I'm sorry. Like this is
I'll
not
I'll
a good
help you out.
office, Crow. This is not a great office.
He looks to Kenneth and goes, "All right, have the chairs replaced, I suppose. One incident is enough. I wouldn't want that to happen to anyone else." And Kenneth
Exactly. If I
kinda looks at him.
broke my face, that could be very bad for you.
Oh shit.
For you?
Crow's eyes go wide
him?
as you say this.
Oh,
Kenneth
shit.
looks
Getting sued into oblivion.
Nervous. Integrity, you can stand and begin to leave with your friends as Kenneth begins to discuss the intricacies of chair-changing logistics with his boss. You exit into the alchemy department's roof and then can quickly make your way down the stairs leading back to campus. What would you like to, Integrity? Would you like to share your findings, or is there anything else to discuss here?
Have you all ever heard of Easthold?
Have we heard of Easthold?
And Serenap, you've definitely heard of Easthold as part of your like childhood growing up. The other two of you could, or the three of you could make history checks.
History check time.
10 plus.
Hey, Serenap, you can make a history check too to see how much
14.
you know about it. 14?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 14. You know where it is on a map. Winslow?
I got 27.
Oh,
Holy shit, dude.
Winslow's
did
well
mark.
versed.
Better
I'm
than
only
me.
a
I
12.
got a...
Only 12. You know where it is.
I got a 23.
Winsler's a
23.
history buff.
23 and a 20. 23 and a 27. Mira and Integrity, you guys could point to it on a map. It's a small castle located like, there's like a northern and southern mountain chain that come together in almost like a constriction. It's located there. It's almost like an Ashwin fort to watch for anything coming through from the further west. It like abuts onto like the Purebone lands, that kind of thing. Serenap, you would know that the person who Easthold belongs to, the lord who it would belong to, would be Lord Kryar, Khriar, or Crier, who both you, Serenap Cinderman, and you, Winsler Wallaby, would know in like, I guess, Winsler, can you tell me why you know anything about the Ashwin Kingdom's organizational kind of like hierarchy?
I don't really know much about the hierarchy. However, I do know that Easthold was constructed because that area is very valuable in terms of its strategical positioning to other territories.
Quite so, Winsler Wallaby.
It's an extremely fortified choke point.
So
It is.
Windsor knows this because he's a nerd.
Winslow knows that because he's a nerd. Serenap, due to your like being raised in nobility, Winslow, you understand like the strategic significance. It's probably one of the most important places to maintain and hold in beyond like capitals and beyond like some naval. Like Redford is a big naval city that in the north. But other than those two, like Easthold, incredible strategic importance. Very tiny castle. Serenip, due to being raised in the courts and combined with your history check, you would know that the Lord of Easthold is someone named Crier, Khriar, as I previously said. Serenip, you know this person to be a cousin to the current monarch,
Oh,
Okay.
like a second cousin.
Okay.
well then.
Kind of old man. You've never seen him in person, Serenip Cinderman.
So
I-
something is happening at Westhold. I mean, I know it's related to the current monarch, the lord who runs the area. But as to, a lot of its other parts, not too much. Is sort of like who is there, who runs the area, I guess.
It seems like Crow was in cohort. Like, we already know that he's in cohorts with the monarchy,
That seems
Yeah.
pretty clear.
and it
Yeah.
seems like he's doing some work in the Easthold. So, I'm beginning to think that this might have something to do with booming his business.
Yeah, that sounds like that tracks.
Like he's offering them services or giving or funding something.
He could have also been strong-armed into helping support them in general in exchange for something else. I don't know if he would
Possibly.
willingly assist a political party like that. Seems that he wanted to stay more independent, and now because of this whole thing, he might be in a position where he can't really make decisions on his own. I feel like he's lost some agency, and he's trying to make up for that by pushing it down on us.
Yeah, this guy's scrambling. I mean, who tries to suppress a student newspaper? This
Was
is
he-
not.
Was he lying about the golems?
I don't know how much he knows, but I talked to one. I mean, I interviewed one. It was like a person, Winsler.
How did you know? What did they do?
It wrote everything. We spoke about, and it's not like getting paid, and I mean, it took a bit of convincing to break through the facade, but I don't know what kind of gives them personhood, but at the very least, the one I talked to definitely had it.
You could probably do a survey.
Yeah, I want to look into it more, and I bet you do too, Winsler.
I might have to see this for myself as well. Maybe if
Of
I can get
course.
Yogg along, or maybe even Ari. Did you know that Ari's back?
Oh, shit!
That apparently they rebuilt Ari, but they're kind of in a bit of a mess. I don't think they really did a very good job, but they're around again.
Oh,
Maybe they could help as well. Maybe there's
That's a
some
good
sort of
idea.
tell.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Winsler.
I'm sure
gonna
he
have to
didn't
do something
intend
about that.
to.
I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I have to do something.
I want to publish the interview. I know that Crow might want to try to suppress it, but there's nothing against what he said about, encouraging dangerous action. I won't phrase it as an expose. It'll just be an interest piece. Let people come to their own conclusions,
wait, does
I think that's a
Syndra?
good
Have you
idea.
told Syndra about it? Because she was very much on.
Exactly. Not yet, because, just got back and all of that, but I think that'll be the next step, at least as far as that stuff is concerned. In terms of the Easthold stuff, I don't know. Do you guys think we should look into it more?
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. I'd be more interested to see what Crow's hand in all of this is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have my resources anymore when it comes to the royals and everything. Like
We may
that,
just
but-
have to keep an eye and an ear out for any movement of any sort.
Integrity smiles mischievously as she plans in her head. Mira, I'm gonna need to borrow an article of clothing of yours later.
Sure, what for?
Integrity smiles again, Miss.
Okay, you know what? I don't want to know. Or whatever you want.
I have to get my stuff from storage. Oh no, I just realized I have to get my stuff from storage.
That'll be easy. Just ask all. Ask. Oh, I can do it for you. Don't worry about it.
No, not that. Like I was asking. I was just because I have to now find out where my room is. Who am I even bunking with? Like, wasn't everyone already kind of paired off at the beginning of the year? Like, who?
I wouldn't be surprised if they moved you in someplace that's already maybe occupied or maybe just on your own.
I think it
They
might be
never,
rooming with.
they never said how small, right?
No.
Hey, but we'll come visit you in your supply closet.
I don't think we'll
I'll
be
have
able
a
to
nice
have any
little-
more big birthdays there, though.
I mean, if we can squeeze in like a little table, we can probably have like some tea or something. That'd be nice.
I'm
right?
also curious about one other thing that he mentioned.
What's
They're
that?
doing repairs on the divination building, and they said that they were trying to separate the dangerous from the useful. I don't know what he could probably even use all that for. Like, there's definitely some strange and bizarre things and research that's been locked away down there for who knows how long. What could he be using that for?
One of the Warbler reporters, Runa, has been looking into it. I want to see what she's found so far. I said I would talk to her. I never said I would stop her. And I wink.
Oh, she's the one who's been running.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Always gotta find loopholes, I suppose.
You know it.
Okay, so you all have this conversation, departing across campus. We can fade away from such things. What does everyone want to be doing now? You can either break apart and do these individual tasks that you just assigned to yourselves. Sarah, you head around, getting directions to find a storage closet somewhere where people's things are kept. You speak to attendants, you speak to other students, you speak to a professor. They look at you, scowling, and mutter to themselves as they walk away, annoyed that you would ever look at them, and can finally, after probably like an hour of effort, find your way to like a small building that like is behind, almost like a shed to the dormitories. Within, you can find unlocked. You can find like a locker, magically enlarged, so that you can peer in, seeing hundreds of articles of clothing, books, personal belongings, remnants of jewels, letters that you've left on your coffee table. It seems like someone seems to have gone through your room and just kind of like pushed the equivalent of magically pushing everything into like a garbage bag and then throwing it in like a shed, is what you seem to find in here. It's a massive pile of mess, like a storage unit that someone has neglected for years upon years.
Damn.
Lovely.
Is Virgil in there?
The hedgehog can be, yeah. So you can begin pushing through your things, like looking at like post-it notes layered upon books, sheets thrown in here, all bundled up together, like they just pulled it off of your bed and threw it on. As you do so, the pile within this magically enlarged locker begins to move. It's almost like your like legs are outside of it and you're like leaned into it, trying to like push through the junk in here without causing an avalanche and crushing yourself and trapping yourself within this place. But as you do push through and maneuver your way through this pile of shit that you own, all the things that you own, this kind of revelation that happens to everyone once in their life of you own too much stuff. There's like a movement from below. A mountain of articles of clothing begins to move and jostle as revealed is a massive crystalline hedgehog, brown fur, and this deep, brilliant purple amethyst quills. One Virgil hedgehog pet, massive in size. You have no idea how he was shoved through the confines of this locker. However, Serenep Cinderman, you can assemble your things or maybe just leave them here until a further time when you can track down living quarters.
I'm at least gonna get Virgil out of there. He can walk with me.
By all means, is massive. Bro's huge.
Bro's huge.
Gonna be too big to be around soon.
No, never. We just have to go somewhere else for that. It's fine.
When's the Wallaby? In this time, was there something that you would like to get up to?
I wanted to see if I could find Ari and maybe bring them with me to speak to a Crowlem. Maybe the presence of Ari will help them open up a little bit.
You can. How do you want to find Ari? What is your protocols?
Fresh gossip. I got plenty of fresh gossip right here. Any golem interested in hearing some gossip and spreading some gossip? I got some of the juicy stuff right here.
You wander the halls, a gossip vendor looking for a customer. You receive many weird stares from underclassmen and upperclassmen.
What are you looking at? Leave me alone.
At the end of your 30 minutes, maybe 15 minutes of effort, a familiar face, not the one you were hoping to find of Ari, but a familiar face nonetheless, would approach. Crystalline head shaped like an egg, similar to Ari, however wearing a student robe and carrying a very large pile, probably like 6 books, like tucked firmly between like two hands, almost like someone's trying to push a sandwich together.
Mhm.
5'9", a very average heighted person. You would see departing from, like, let's say the transmutation building, and you're like, gossip, hot gossip, waiting for anybody. And you would see your wonderful, wonderful friend and golem, which you had created. Yogg will approach, and you hear like this shudder almost come from them, and as they approach, and they'll say, good afternoon, creator. Might I ask about what your yelling and screaming is about?
Oh, perfect. I was looking for somebody else, but I think you might be able to help me as well. Come here. I'm gonna grab their hand and I'm gonna pull them over to the side.
By all means.
So I might need your help with something. It involves the golems that Crowe has in his employ. You know, the ones that have sort of like the emerald, the sapphire that's embedded in their neck. You've seen those around, right?
I am very aware of these golems, and I have a particular dislike for them, yes.
Well,
particularly the ones with sapphires embedded in their necks and blue robes. They strike me as condescending.
Okay. Have you ever spoken with one before? Just out of curiosity?
We have had passing chats, yes, but nothing lasting or long-standing. They have issued me orders about arriving at classes at certain times, printed on paper. However, nothing deeper than that.
So they communicated with you in a way, then?
They give me slips of paper indicating that I was late for certain classes, yes, but nothing more.
Well, I don't know if this is true or not.
Is there a problem with these golems?
Well, we may have just learned that these golems that are in Crowe's employ might actually be sentient, capable of thought and feeling like you are.
Well,
and like your predecessors are.
The printed message did have a reek of condescension to them, as mentioned previously.
And that's where I'm going to need your help. I need to see this for myself. So I wonder if I have someone like you helping me out, maybe they'll be willing to open up. Maybe they'll be willing to tell us something about what's going on and how they're feeling.
Mayhaps.
Will you help me?
Of course, creator. I would appreciate nothing more. If they are, in fact, sentient, as you were saying, that seems troubling, considering the circumstances we went through to render my own crystal prepared for sentience. Do you think these new golems know of the Polishurium?
I don't think they do. I think these golems are created without any outside knowledge of what goes on in Wildcliff. If I had to think, I would imagine that production is most likely taken care of over in Troil, and then Crowe somehow gets his employees to maybe bring them over here into Wildcliff where they are employed. I don't think they know anything about the Polishurium.
Do you know if these golems are only present on our Wildcliff campus?
I've only ever seen them on Wildcliff, but I wouldn't be surprised if Crowe would have them in his employ in other places where he has control over things.
Yes, this is particularly troubling in that case. Very well, creator. As you wish. I have... well, I do find myself lacking in time since the spring, but...
We'll only need a few minutes. We just need to find a Crolem who's willing to take some of their time to answer some questions.
Very well. Lead and
all right.
You see Toll kind of join your party and follow behind you like a JRPG, Winslow. And you can rush around. There's a variety of different new type golems, Winslow Walby. Yeah, there's like the ones with little green crystals. You see ones with ruby crystals, and you see ones with sapphire crystals. Those are kind of like the three varieties you've seen so far in your time on campus.
I do know which ones I want to sort of look for. I want to see if I can find first generation Crolems that were here. That were here when they were the first ones to arrive.
So like very, very like at the start of the spring.
Yeah, I want to see if this has always been the case, starting with the very first.
The ones that were here, like the first ones you probably saw in like the first days coming back, were those green, like gemmed, green robed ones.
Okay.
Similar to the one that Mira had interviewed and the ones that you had bagged and tagged, as it were.
Okay.
Wizard Wallaby, no problems. You can find yourself going over near to the dining hall. There's some wonderful short shrubs here, shoved off in a corner where they get 6 hours of sunlight a day. There is a green cloaked short golem. There might be like 5'5", and they seem to be going about trimming these shrubs with a large pair of shears attached to their hands. Mechanical precision. You hear the whirring and burring of gears and gizmos within. They pay you no heed when you first approach. A Yogg will be standing in your shadow, as it were.
Excuse me there.
Snip. Snip. Snip.
I'm gonna tap on their side. Hello. I just have a few questions for you. If you're okay with answering.
The shears stay open, and the little vertebrae where the gem is encrusted turn ever so slightly, as if in your direction. A little gleam of light goes whooshing off of it.
Hi there. My name is Winslow Wallaby. You've probably seen me around. Maybe not. I just had a couple of questions for you, if you're okay with that. I wanted to sort of get your own thoughts on Wildcliff as a whole. Like, how do you find Wildcliff? What do you think about it?
The shears stay held open. The little vertebrae turn away from you and regard the shears. The little vertebrae look up at the ray of sunlight shining in the summer air. The vertebrae turns back towards you. The shears lower, and its hands just sit by its side. And then you hear like a coming from within. It reaches into its mechanical chassis. You hear the ripping of paper, and it holds out a printed note for you, Winslow. You can unfurl it like a massive receipt and read. Good afternoon. I have been instructed to trim the bushes. Please cease trying to prevent me from cutting the bushes on this beautiful summer day.
I think I might need a little bit more help here. Yogg, are you able to come over here for a second?
Yogg inches forwards and will say, Gollum, we are here to assess your sentience.
Oh, I mean, you didn't have to put it so bluntly, but
I think, Creator, if it was me, I would want to be told up front and directly the purpose of this conversation.
I guess that's true. Allow me to explain a little bit more in depth. This is my friend Yogg.
I was created.
Yeah, me and my friend Kurt, we basically created Yogg. And Yogg is a golem that features great sentience. They're capable of learning really fast and everything, and I think you might be able to level on something, maybe open up a little bit.
Winslow, can you make a persuasion check for me?
Oh god. That's a 16?
A 16. This golem turns to you. It kind of stands a bit more upright, the gem regarding you, sitting there at the top of the vertebrae. It regards Yogg, slightly taller than them. It regards you, much shorter than them. As you finish speaking, you hear a printing inside of it. It rips off another receipt and will hold it out between you and Yogg, generally in your vicinity, before finally passing it down to you. Written upon it, it says, I'm aware of Kurt or Lane. He is imprinted on my gem structure as an important person on campus. Curious.
Just Kurt?
Yogg crosses their arms and will say, Mayhaps, Creator, there was something that occurred after your disappearance that registers only Kurt as an important person?
It's very likely. I wonder if when Kurt was there during the construction that basically left only his insignia on things. Maybe that's why.
Do you think they regard Crowe? Is Crowe an important person to you as well?
Yeah, is Crowe important?
The golem sits there, shears dangling. You hear a printing. It rips and hands it out to you. Winslow, Mr. Osei Crowe is of utmost importance to the functioning and protocols of this golem.
And how do you feel about Crowe?
Make a persuasion check.
Oh, fuck. That's so good. Non-natural 20.
Okay. Winslow, you ask this. Yogg nods sagely. If they had a chin to put a hand upon, if the thing, they would be doing that. As is, their little mechanical hand is just
Invisible chin.
splayed out on the egg. Winsler, this golem looks down. It looks up again once more into like the sun shining a very thin like column of light piercing between like two of those large towers and just casting this all in a beautiful evening glow. It will look at you. Its little gleams, and then you hear a of the printing. It rips it off. It looks at it for the first time, regards its own writing, it seems, and then will hand it over to you. You can unspool the receipt, and within reads, "I've never really thought about that before. I suppose I'm supposed to think he's all right." And Winsler, compared to these other written things, this feels the most natural. Like, this feels like another person. Yes. As opposed to the others, especially the one about Crowe, it came immediately. This one had a bit of, like, thought surrounding it. Like, they had to...
Like, they had to process what they were trying to say.
Yes, very much so.
I can't believe it. He was lying. They have some semblance of sentience. You have some semblance of sentience.
But the golem looks uncomfortable. Its body language kind of looking around as if someone could come and save it from this conversation.
I'm sorry. I'll leave you alone for now. I'll let you get back to your work. I can't believe this.
Yeah, Winsler, you can kind of like walk away. All these scraps of receipts in your hands, and you can walk with Yog. Is there any last things that you wanted to say as you leave this endeavor?
I feel like it's my fault, Yog. What have I done? They've created people that are just basically working for them with no benefit to their health or anything. They're trapped.
Yog contemplates and will look down towards you in a way that you can discernibly recognize Winsler off that little eggy head, and they will say...
Perfect egg head.
They will say, "This was not the case with those original golems, nor I on campus. But speaking to them and learning what capacity they have for sentience in this way, Creator, is, though illuminating in a negative light, offers an opportunity to help in the same way which you have helped me to enter studies, to become a student here, to become something greater than a automaton created to serve you and create recipe or follow a recipe or follow strict programming. When we first spoke to that golem, it seemed automated. Do you understand? And now we leave it, look at it, and the two of you can kind of turn around and regard that golem standing there. It has like the shears in its hand, but is now just kind of like squatted down and looking into like the leaves at the bush. And it says, "It seems that through your direct intervention, it has changed. Mayhaps the others don't realize what lays beyond following those prescribed rules."
I think we might actually be able to help them. There might actually be hope then. If these golems really have a semblance of sentience, we just have to give them a push. We have to help them think for themselves.
To realize that they have the ability to think for themselves.
I'm going to run and hug Yog.
By all means. We leave the two of you. Yog putting a hand upon your hat and like in an affectionate gesture as you hug them around the knees. We leave the two of you in the light of the sun. Mir Marchand.
Hi.
What was it that you wanted to get done?
I think I would probably pop over to the Warbler office.
Of course.
And get on the same page as everybody about like what happened here.
Mm-hmm. Of course. You can get the very many people are here in the like kind of like fading afternoon or like the early afternoon at this point that you can pop in. It's like lunch, so people have like popped in to get like hand things in or get new assignments or just generally socialize. You want to get like the story of like what happened?
I think I have a pretty good sense of that already.
Okay.
But I think I would be like, "Hey guys, team meeting."
Yes, everyone can gather around. Syndra Sunfire is notably absent here.
Good to know.
Other faculty staff are present.
So, as I'm sure most of you are already aware, the Warbler offices have been visited by Headmaster Crowe. There has been an attempt to place limitations on what we can write, what we can say. I don't want to put any of you at risk. I don't want anyone to be targeted by the administration here, which is why I want to make it clear that nobody should be pressured or forced to report on dangerous incidents during the school. If that is you,
You say that, you see, like, in the back, leaning against, like, a chair, Bowen kind of go, like, oh, and, like, a weight taken off their shoulders.
At the same time, I want to ensure that the paper remains committed to uncensored, independent journalism. For those of you who are interested in pursuing the deeper elements of what is happening here, can you please raise your hands?
Very quickly, the young tiefling here, Whitney Tremors, who had just early joined the event planning committee before its destruction, raises her hand. The young orc Cormit sits silently, his hands folded on his lap, and he looks very nervously around, as well as the other tiefling, purple skin with little gold freckles, an investigator's hat on, who you would know, the most recent acquisition to the group, as Runa quickly raises, or very slowly and like calmly would raise her hand.
Perfect. I want to assign those of you who have agreed the responsibility specifically of investigative reporting. For the rest of you, you can continue to report on daily happenings at no risk to you. I want to assure this. In terms of the Golem interview, I think we're safe to publish it. I've spoken to my friend about it. We'll give it a lighthearted tone, but we'll let people come to the natural conclusions. Finally, I would like to add a disclaimer to the end pages of our newspaper on the daily. And I wrote it out, let me say.
Oh my goodness.
Just a small info box. If we ever are sincerely censored, we probably won't have the ability to directly convey that information. So let's just have it say, we have been recently visited by our esteemed headmaster, expressing concern over our content and hinting at potential censorship. Rest assured that the Warbler currently retains full editorial control of its independent content. Watch closely for removal of this box in future editions.
You see, sitting next to like your small printing press, Arlie kind of lean back in his chair and nod like a couple of times, 3 or 4 times, like sinking it all in. You see it like spread across people's faces. You have nods or like the sounds of approval from your staff at large, Mira Marchand.
I want you all to know that I am incredibly proud of you and what we are all doing here. Our wings will not be clipped. Go team!
Go team. The yells ring out. You can head to your kind of like desk at the head of this room as editor-in-chief. Very quickly, this purple-skinned tiefling, Runa, slinks over and will stand next to you, kind of like looking out the window behind you. And she'll say very quietly, like, wonderful work.
Thanks. How have your investigations gone? You've caught the eye of the headmaster, but I'm curious what's caught yours.
There's someone on campus who seems very important, named Young.
Young?
He seems to work for Crowe in some large regard. I've seen him passing reports to and fro. He's only been on campus, like, visibly, and she looks down to you, like, twice, to my understanding. It seems they're using, and she looks away from you, going back to her spy movie aesthetic. It seems that they're using some sort of an intermediary to carry the reports around. I don't know what's in them, but I'm sure it's of concern for someone like you. Additionally, I overheard a conversation between 2 of the workers, 2 of the guards there, talking about, do you remember that she went missing around the time the divination tower blew up? The head of department, Professor Doss, head of the conjuration department.
Yeah.
She's been missing from campus, along with a few of the other people from the former, she was the one that was next to Bailey in the event planning committee, like a 5th year or something. I don't remember her name. But Professor Doss's name I've heard tossed around 6 or 7 times, almost referring to her in there.
In there.
I don't know if she's helping out. I don't know if
Oh.
she's dead. And
And
Bruna whispers
Luke,
that
just to
part.
make sure,
Yeah.
Doss was overtaken by Henrietta's brain sucky things, right?
Brain sucky
Last you
things.
saw Helena Doss, Professor Helena Doss, she had emerged from a breezeway and seemed rather aberrant in her appearance. She had tentacles sprouted from her face and was purple skinned. She had run away the moment you all broke the control Henrietta Hedrick, Our Lady of the Deep, had upon her mind. That is the last you saw her.
Yeah, that's incredibly interesting. She had some sort of magical influence placed over her in that giant brain fight thing, but I don't know where she is now. That's very useful information, Runa. Thank you very much.
Glad to be of service. Everything else I kind of got grabbed by some people, and they asked me to leave. Like security-wise, it wasn't like,
Right.
And she kind of like grimaces a bit.
I would like to assign you the responsibility of learning everything you can about this young. I'm interested in pursuing this DOS thing.
Sounds good, Chief. And she'll nod to you very curtly and head out the door.
Perfect. I'm gonna open up my notepad and open a new manila folder, and I'll write on it Mira's dossier.
Wonderful.
Dossier.
And we can leave you there. Integrity, Idleberry.
Yes.
At what time? Is this a nighttime affair? Which you would like to be partaking in, or is this a evening affair or a late afternoon affair as well? Borrowing Mira's clothes and the like.
Evening to night. I would say around like 6 o'clock at night.
6 o'clock at
Integrity runs across campus, slams open Mira's dorm room door, hoping that no one is in there, or if there was someone in there that, they're not super bothered by Integrity just going in.
Yes.
And since Mira has given Integrity permission over any of her clothing, Integrity's just going to scramble through Mira's clothes, and I'm like, this is a beautiful dress, but that's not what I'm looking for. And Integrity eyes this, if I recall, a boa?
No,
No, a feathery cloak.
Oh, the speak with animals, it's a poncho thing?
Yes.
It's a yellow, vibrant jacket, rat tails and swan feathers, almost pinned to the surface of it. Also brilliant raincoat, yellow colored. You can find it hung up in the closet.
It's a little dusty. It's somewhere toward the back.
I don't remember it being this tacky, but
Got a bad
I'll
memory.
make it work. I don't think I have a bottom for this. Anyways, Integrity takes it and runs across campus again, goes to the trees, in the darkness, sits at the bottom of a tree.
The sun sinks further on the horizon, shadows cast even longer. We see Integrity running from shadow to shadow, her looking like a woman on a mission.
Yes. And I would like to, as I'm walking around, trying to direct flying birds, flying black crows
Ravens,
around
crows,
campus.
little blackbirds, landing on trees, landing on ledges next to you. As you run, they pick up again. They would roll their eyes as if only they could, chasing after you as you make your mad dash across campus.
And I would like to sit under a tree to make it less conspicuous to have birds around me.
You can sit on a bench out front of the very middle of campus. Divination buildings right there, transmutation buildings right there, the chapels right there, the alchemy buildings right there. You're at the epicenter of this place. Birds land on branches of a partially dead tree above you. It seems no one is taking good care of it. It doesn't get that much sunlight. You're cast deep in shadow. The leaves almost are filled in by the black feathers of these hundreds of birds as they, in anticipation, hang above you.
Integrity puts her borrowed jacket from Mira and looks at the birds. And she says,
"Of course.
You may be wondering why I have gathered you all here.
So ominous.
You hear tiny squawks. Aye.
This is what I hear even when I'm wearing a jacket?
Oh, you wear the jacket. I thought you were waiting to use the magic of the jacket.
Oh.
Integrity, you steeple your fingers, lean back on this bench. You use the function of this jacket and cast Speak with Animals. The little rat tails and swan feathers go and wiggle as if wind blown over them. And you look up and say, you're probably wondering why I gathered you all here. You hear chuckles. Some other people being like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of this lady running us around. You hear another person go, what about the other warlock? What about BB? And you hear one of them like looking down at you and go, grain, corn, do you have corn? Do you have corn? Do you have a chip? Do you have food?
Jesus.
There's a lot of you, so I understand that there would be a lot of voices. I would really appreciate if you raise your feather or raise your wing if you have something to say. I know that you're looking for the other warlock, but before anything can really happen on that end, I just want to make sure that this is a safe space for warlocks and a safe space for me, because I don't want to die. So, on the evening of... What day was the day that Serenup disappeared?
2 days ago.
Day?
The day before ago. That should be.
2 days ago.
Yesterday.
It was yesterday. It would have been the 40th day of summer.
On the 40th day of summer, I would like to know if any of you cute birdies were in the approximate area of where guards entered the school and perhaps started walking towards the office of our headmaster.
One, you see the birds bristle when you address them and start talking to them very sincerely. They kind of pull back, their little bird eyes go wide, and they look at you, moving around, their legs kind of like cha-cha-cha-cha. People trying to get closer to you to look at you. You hear a whisper that goes, is she talking to us? You hear another whisper that goes, hush, hush, she said raise your feathers. You hear one go, corn! Sitting up, a fat raven on the top branches. One of them, a little blackbird, little red spots on its wings, swoops down and lands on your knee and will kind of like turn its head and look at you with one little black eye and will say, I was there on the eve of what you speak of. And it turns its head and looks at you with its other eye. Men like cans funneled in.
It seems like you were there. You are not lying. Now, I am willing to pay in corn or whatever.
Squawks. Uncontrollable squawks. Just a cry out. No words, Integrity. You do hear the screams of that one raven as it throws its head back. But, like, just screams run out from this crowd. She's rich! What yells one of these little crows hanging in the trees.
You see, I am just curious as to the deal that happened there.
This little blackbird on your lap kind of like takes 2 little steps forwards. It turns its head to the left so it can regard you with its right eye and will say, payment up front. Aye, warlock. And then turns its other head and says, your friend once spoke with us and paid us mightily. And you hear rings of people going, mightily. The raven on the top still barking for corn.
Well, I don't have corn in my pocket right now, but I can get it to you in approximately 22 minutes. Once we're done talking.
Make a persuasion check make an animal handling check.
Animal persuasion check.
Animal persuasion.
These fucking crows.
How does a 13 sound?
Uh-oh.
The one at the top, you see like 16, 17 of your 100-some crows, birds, blackbirds, ravens, little grackles. You see like 16, 20 of them scream at the top of their lungs, including that big raven, and then immediately fly off for greener pastures, annoyed at your haggling. The others quietly like hummed themselves. One of them turns to its fellow raven and goes, "I'm just here to hear the story. I want to know what happened." The little blackbird on your lap flaps its wings and jumps up onto your shoulder and will like whisper in your ear and say, "Well, it's not like you could run from us and hide payment anyway." It laughs in your ear.
Exactly.
An old man, wrinkly. He smelt of grain. Came with the tin can men. Spoke with Crowe. And you hear others in the tree go, "Crowe," kind of like groan it out when the little blackbird says it. A couple of like the crows gathered here fly off, almost in annoyance. This little blackbird turns its little head and puts its little beak right up to your ears, and it will say, "Money changed hands. Hands were shooken. Windows were open." And it looks at you.
Jesus.
A little predator sitting right next to you. The beak
Scavenger.
looks sharp. This close to your eyes, Integrity, the beak looks dangerous.
Hands were shook. Money was handed over. Who handed money over?
The wrinkle man handed it over to Crowe. And the other birds go, "Crowe," and groan it out again. It almost like a choir in synchronicity. The little blackbird will say, "He was in a pleasant mood, that young Crowe." And everyone goes, "Crowe," in the groan again. And then the bird flaps its little wings and says, "The tin can men left, easy as they came. Wrinkle Man was dismayed. We followed him for some time. He feeds us on occasion. He had no food that night. He smoked. He seemed stressed."
Did he speak to himself about what's stressing him out?
"Will you give us bread?"
I will give you a whole
"Not
baguette.
just corn. No, shush, under your breath so the others can't hear. Me,
Greedy.
a loaf.
I will give you a loaf.
Winter is on the horizon, and I want to be plump and ready."
You will be the plumpest and readiest of them all. For your loyalty. Now, answer my question.
The little bird looks up at its contemporaries in the trees, its cunning plan paying off, and it will say more loudly so that all might hear, "He smoked and stank up there, a cantankerous countenance upon him. He spoke to the tin can men of a deal well made with Crowe." And the others growl out, "Crowe." "He said that they would not be coming back to this place. He said the tin can men put up their airs well, and then they left."
So they didn't look for anyone else to try and take them.
"No! To the
They
alchemy
just-
building, a smoky in the hand, and then they left. Quick as that. Less coins!"
Interesting. Okay. So you don't know what the deal was, but you know that but you know who the inciting party is and who got the better end of the deal.
"Crowe!" And they all growl out. And then the little blackbird hops off your shoulder. Actually, it won't hop off your shoulder, but it will kind of like sit back away from your ear in less of a conspiratorial stance and kind of like squat down and sit, waiting for its payment.
Okay, well, let's start walking then. Please don't peck my eyes out.
You stand, and the birds, like a classroom being let out by their teacher, stand and begin to fly and flap away off towards the dining hall. This little blackbird sits on your shoulder. You hear it humming to itself all the way there. Integrity, Idleberry. And as you walk away, your cloud of blackbirds and crows hanging in the air behind you. That's where we'll leave this episode, folks. Ben, could you please give us an outro?
Absolutely. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Trials and Trebuchets. Tons of revelations, tons of mysteries. Whatever will happen next, you'll just have to listen and find out next time. But first, why don't you go and leave a rating and review on our Apple Podcast page or wherever you get your podcasts from? It really helps us out a lot. We don't do any paid advertising for the podcast, so word of mouth is how we get around. Share it with your friends, family, and whoever else you want to have listened to it.
Bring it up at the next family gathering.
Yeah, bring it up in the next dinner. We've also got a social media page, Instagram. You can find it at the handle @TrialsandTrebs. We post a lot of cool stuff there, such as teasers for upcoming episodes, fan art made by our lovely Sam and other fellows of the podcast.
Yes.
If you make fan art, please at us.
Yeah,
Mention
tag us in it.
Tag us.
Yeah.
At us, tag us, however you want to get in reach with us, let us know, because we love fan art. It's so good. It makes our day.
Or you could post it on our Discord server.
Yes, our Discord server, our community server, which you can find the link to in the description below. Chat with fellow fans and even us if we're around. We sometimes are. It's a very cool place to get some extra special TNT conversation bits that you may not find anywhere else.
Yeah. Exclusives.
We also have a Patreon page for those who are feeling a little extra generous. We've got a various amount of different tiers, and you can get lots of cool goodies such as DM notes, maps, blooper reels, and maybe even a NPC, student NPC, or an NPC in general.
An NPC,
Show up.
Yes. Such as Runa, such as Arlie, such as Bowen, such as
Runa,
Syndra.
Arlie,
the entire
Bowen,
staff
Syndra.
of the Warbler.
Literally all of the Warbler are Patreon NPCs. This is a Patreon NPC founded organization.
Exactly. If you want your character to be friends with our characters, then pay up. I'm kidding.
And alternatively, we also have another way you can support us with merch.
Wow.
We have a merch
Mercantile.
store, www.trebmerch.com. We've got lots of cool stuff like t-shirts. We've also got stickers.
Yes.
Lots
we
of cool
should have-
stuff.
I don't mean to say this because we say this a lot, and sometimes it's just empty. But there should be new stuff soon. Not when this episode comes out. I'm sorry.
We should have new stuff soon,
There should be
TM.
new stuff soon.
Look
please.
forward to it.
You'll join the Discord, join the Instagram. That's how you'll know if there's new stuff. Or just listen to the next episode where we'll talk about it.
Yes.
Until then,
we'll definitely plan to do more for it.
Until then, bye.
Goodbye, everybody. See you all next time, or in 3, 2, 1.